So this list is up because I want you guys to be able to see this. And this is the document that Courtney either will send around or has sent around as sort of my outline for the presentation. But we have some really, really exciting, great new features for Human Anatomy Atlas 2021 this year. I think it's probably the best upgrade we've put out in a long, long time. So we're going to cover this in sort of two parts. There'll be this beginning part, which is going to be talking about the menu, sort of what's changed, like where did my button go? It used to be here and now it's missing. All the things you come across when a company updates a program you're really used to using and you're wondering where your stuff went. So I'm going to try and cover that first, then talk about a little bit about workflow improvements. We made a way for just sort of for endless exploration. I'll get to that in a little bit. And then we're going to talk about the new anatomy. And then we'll take a little break, maybe do some questions. And then we're going to get into the new abilities to save everything in 3D space. That it would include all of your structure tags, your drawings, your notepads, the ability to resave a view you've already made. And then we're going to talk about visible body user accounts, which are new this year, and they make all of this possible. And when you get this PDF, there'll be a little link here to a 2-minute overview video of what's new in 2021 that one of our other colleagues, Ian, had made. So if you ever need a little refresher or want to, share it, you can use that. Okay, so here we are. We are inside of Human Anatomy Atlas 2021. And the first thing I want to talk about is, this is called the main menu. And the first thing I want to talk about is the top bar here. So in this version, we have sort of 4 main tabs here. We have views, media, quizzes, and my library. And then conveniently, I should have Atlas 2020 here. This is the current version you have now. You can see there are 5 across the top. But what we've done is we've taken tours, favorites, and note cards, and we've put that in a section called My Library. When I go to that here, you'll see all of that show up. All right, so we've taken tours, favorites, note cards, and we've nested it inside My Library. And that gave us a little bit more room to add this media tab. So in 2020, which is this one, you'll see there's no media tab here. And here we have the media tab. And what is the media tab? So anyone who's used our products for a long time might know of an app called Physiology Animations. And that was a separate app. It's a little bit older, and it's basically an app that just let you watch, different videos. So what we've done is we've taken that and we've moved it into Human Anatomy Atlas. So now it's contained within Atlas and not a separate product. And what that does is gives you access to the patient education animations. This has about 90 different animations on different, mostly physiology, showing how things work. These are great for teaching. Each one of them, they're pretty short, probably between 15 and 45 seconds, I would say. They have different topics here. You have cellular respiration, heart conduction, peristalsis, filtration, coronary artery disease, kidney stones, sciatica, things like that. Then we have this other section here called advanced animations. I think there are 25 or 26 of these maybe. These are a little bit more detailed and a little bit more in depth, sort of geared towards a little bit more of a sophisticated audience. Back in that document that I was showing you earlier, we do have, oh, that didn't quite get on my page. We do have a, oh, it's not letting me scroll for some reason. We do have a link that lists all the animations in it in the document that you can, it takes you to our website, and we list out each and every one here in case you want a list. And then I've already talked about this My Library section here. The first tab, I didn't mention this one. This is Show All. That just wraps up these 3 and puts it in one menu that kind of has some side scrolling to it. And the last thing on the main menu, which I'm just going to point out, but I'm not really going to talk about it now, is we've added this button here, which is a share link button. And I think when I get to this, you'll all be very happy. This is going to make all the difference between 2021 and 2020. All right, so that covers the main menu and the differences, right? It's mostly, we've added the media tab, we've consolidated tours, favorites and note cards into my library, and we've added this share link down here. Now we're going to talk about the anatomy screen. So again, main menu, and the anatomy screen is any screen that has anatomy on it. It's basically not the main menu. And I'm going to show you, I think what I'm going to do here is do the same exact thing I did before, where I'm going to go in, sort of get the same view here, and show you the differences. So in the top left corner of this guy, we have the main menu, we have this toggle that lets you change the sex of the model, and we have this refresh button. And down in the corner here, we have this systems tray. And obviously the joystick here. In 2021, we've moved this a little bit. You can see in the top corner, we now have these back and forward buttons. Again, this is an awesome new feature called the View Stacker or View Navigator, and I'll get to that a little bit later as well. But you might be wondering, you know, where did my buttons go, right? They used to be here. I had these nice things I'm used to them. Why did you move them? Where are they? So the first one I'm going to talk about is this back to the menu, main menu button. That moved just right down here, right? And that replaced what we had before, which was the system tray. We've moved that to be more like the mobile versions if you use them, where the system tray now is a palette that you can bring out from the corner. It still has the same functionality, it's just organized a little bit differently. Kind of opens up the screen a little bit more as well. Let me go back here again, and then you might be wondering where this went. How do I change the sex of the model? We have moved that into a setting because that really is a setting for the model. So if I go back to 2021, that would be found in here in the settings. We call it model with a little male-female symbol here, and you can toggle it right there. So we've just stuck it inside a different menu. We don't think that's something that people use quite as often as some of these other tools, and we had to clear off a little bit of room, so we hid it in there. And then the refresh, right? This refresh button, if anyone doesn't know what this does, this just, if I was to add something to this view or change it in any way, refresh will just bring it right back to how it was when I loaded it. This refresh button also appeared down in this history, right? History has refresh, and if I had done anything, I would be able to undo or redo. So what we've done is we've actually combined this and this and moved them up here. So you'll see that there's no refresh button here, and there's also no history here. It's all right here up top now. And we moved it away from this area because we didn't want anyone being confused with what these buttons did versus what the history did. You'll also notice that the joystick on this version is stuck to the corner. Our new joystick is under settings, and it is under controls, joystick. And what we've done is we've tucked it down in the corner here. And we did that to sort of keep it out of the way, especially since this system tray now pops out here. And when you learn about, you know, if I was to go in here and maybe learn about a definition, you can see there is a chance it could overlap. So what we've done was we've made this joystick a palette that can be moved around screen at any time, right? So you're not stuck with it up in the corner. You can move it wherever you want if you resort to using the joystick. And we've added these little pluses and minuses, which will help you get a little bit more fine control if you're in here. All right, I'm gonna get rid of this joystick. And then I wanna talk about the bottom bar, which is this area here. I'm gonna go back to Atlas 2020. So we already talked about that. We moved the system tray out. Anatomy, search, dissect, and multi-select are all still there. Talked about history, how we moved that out. And since we moved history out, we had an available spot. So what we did was we took the notepad and the draw and we put them here and here. So those tools are readily available. You don't have to go to the annotate menu and select from there. Another difference you'll see, and this is another feature I'll talk a little bit more about later, is we used to just have a download image button down here. What that did was it's very similar to just taking a screenshot on your computer. But we've added something new. So now we have a share button. And what that does is we didn't take away your download image. We just sort of nested it here. So you can still take a screenshot and download to your computer from here. But we also have this share link button. So before I showed you, a little bit earlier, I showed you how we have this share link button. And I don't want to get into too much here because I saved it for later, but this lets you paste a share link in, and this button lets you generate a share link. So if you want to share the 3D view that you're in, you would use that, oops, you would use this button here. All right, so I think that covers all of the new UI. And now we want to talk about workflow. So I'm going to use an example from 2020 of, let's see, I went to, let me just load my view up here. Views, regions, thorax. So right now I'm just in a single view, and maybe I want to learn a little bit more about this pec major. Again, I don't want to get too much into some of these things we've covered in other webinars, but I can get into this muscle details view.
Sorry, Chris?
Yeah.
The image is stuck on your desktop.
Thank you. All right. How about that? Better?
Much better. Thank you.
Sorry, I got one of those Macs where if I move my mouse too quick, it kind of clears my screen off trying to help me. Thank you. I'm going to go back. All right. You didn't miss much. I'm in the thorax view, and we're talking about workflow here. And I want to go and learn a little bit more about pec major. I go to this muscle details view. We used to have these exit buttons, and when you click this, it would just take you back, right? Back to this view. And you could even go a few deep. I could go in here, and then I could go to maybe a muscle action, which sometimes doesn't load on this version. Apologies for that. But you can see I have an exit button here. I can go back. I can go back again. And we didn't really like that because it was pretty limiting. So what we did was we added in this previous and next button, or back and forward button. So you'll see if I go to that same view here. If I go to pec major again, I'm going to do the same exact thing. And I go into my muscle details. I don't have that exit button here anymore. But what I can do is just use this view navigator and go back to the view I came from. And that might not seem like a big deal, but as I go a little further, I think you'll see how powerful it is. And one reason we did that was because sometimes those exit buttons, they left you in a place that wasn't really great. Another good example to show you, we call it a dead end view, where you might have been in a view talking about something, and you went somewhere and now you're stuck and can't get back. So let me just pretend I'm still in here and say I want to learn about this eye, right? We have these microanatomy views and related content, which I'm going to talk about a lot in a minute. If I go into this view, I'm in the eye. Now I have no way back to the view I just came from. And that's what we call the dead end view. And we tried to get rid of those. Right? The only way I could really get back to that thorax view is to go to the main menu, kind of figure out where I was and reload it. And if I had done anything to this model, if I'd altered it in any way, I would have lost that work. So what we've done here is, with these forward and back buttons, I can now go to my eye view and explore and do whatever I want here. And now I can get back. I have this button to get back, right, to the view I had before. All right, so that's the forward and back view navigation. And, I haven't shown you forward, but here you go, forward right to the one we're at. Then I want to talk about, I just mentioned it real quick, but this related content. This, I think, might be the single best upgrade to Atlas 2021. Besides the user accounts, I think this is it, because it does a lot. It does a huge amount of work for you, and I think everyone likes that when the program can do the work for you. So to show you this, I'm going to use one of these heart examples. I think I'm using view, circulatory, location of the heart. And let's say that I'm a professor, probably like most of you, and this is my overview section on the cardiovascular system, and I want to talk about the heart, its location. I want to talk about how it works with the lungs, maybe, kind of show the trachea here. And I don't want to have to dissect down. Right now I want to teach about the heart. But what I can do is I can use this related content. If I just click right here on this pericardium, I get all these great views here. And it's almost like I'm dissecting without dissecting. So maybe the next thing I want to talk about is, maybe I want to see how this heart sort of fits inside this left lung. Instead of dissecting down or going to the main menu, I have almost this endless amount of content, because depending on what I click on, I'll get different things. So you can see right now, if I click on the front of the heart here, the views in my related content have changed. And maybe now I want to, talk about the heart valves, right? I don't have to dissect. I don't have to go to the main menu. I'm just right here, right? We can explore this view. We can add to it. We can do whatever we want in a single button. And then maybe I want to talk about heart conduction. And this is where this gets really powerful, kind of combining some of the stuff we talked about. There's all these little thumbnails here that have this nice looking background to them. These are animations from that media section. And I'm pretty sure this one right here is the conduction system of the heart. So I can then launch an animation right from here.
The heart's conduction system regulates the electrical impulses that make the heart beat.
And watch
An
that.
impulse begins in
And again, this is just an endless loop of content depending on what I click on and depending on what I add. You can even go to cross sections from here, right? Maybe you want to see cross section of the thorax. Here we are with the heart and cross section. And then I can never get out of this without hitting this flip button because I just think it's super cool that you can do that. And then from this cross section, depending when I click on, I can learn about more and more different things, right? I can go here and watch about maybe stenosis of the valves, anything I want. So it's great. You almost never have to go back to that main menu once you're in. It's an endless journey here. And just to show you, those views are all in the menu. You just don't have to go back, right? I started here, then maybe I went here, then to here, and then in the media section, I went somewhere into circulatory and found that. But it's great because I don't have to do this work. I can just kind of teach on the fly as I go. Okay, now before we take a little bit of question and answer time, I want to talk about some new anatomy we've added. You've kind of seen a little bit of that in well, I guess I didn't really show it to you, but I want to talk about the pericardium in depth a little bit more. So we've always had a pericardium, but we didn't necessarily have all of the pericardium, and we didn't have these, is this the phrenic nerve? Yeah, we didn't have the phrenic nerve exactly displayed correctly. So we fixed a lot of that here, the relationship between the pericardium and the diaphragm and the heart and the lungs as well. We always had what was called the fibrous pericardium, but if I drill down a little bit, we now have the serous pericardium, 2 layers. We have the parietal layer, and we also, if I had that, we also have the visceral layer, which I believe is synonymous with the epicardium layer of the heart. So that's our new pericardium. Then I want to talk about, just a quick warning here, this is the female reproductive system. I think we're all, anatomists to some degree, so hopefully it won't be too jarring, but that's what's next here. We've improved some of the female reproductive system, mainly a bunch of the nervous and blood supply, especially these guys here. So I'm just going to quickly isolate some of this to show you. We've added more nerves, we've added blood supply, and we've made this area a bit more accurate. There's also, there's some blog links where we talk about some of this anatomy that I can actually show you. Let me see if this will launch. I'll actually do it in the next one. Let me talk about the next thing, which is, it's not exactly improved anatomy, but our muscle actions, we've improved the clarity of them. And by that, I mean, we've added in a few things. So right now in this head and neck flexion, when the muscle's in full color, that is when it's performing its action. And since this is a loopable action, when it goes back and is not performing its action, when it's relaxing, it grays out a bit. And that helps understand, some of these muscle actions are a little bit difficult to understand, when the muscle is performing its action, when it's not. So again, in color, it's performing its action. When it is grayed out, that's when it's sort of recoiling and relaxing. Another thing we've added is this info button, and we didn't have this before in 2020, but this describes the action to you. Right now my font is gigantic. I'm just gonna put that back down to normal. It tells you what it means to, what head and neck flexion means, right? Active bending the neck to move the chin towards the chest. And it talks about the agonists of prime movers and lists them out here. We know when people study muscles, you learn agonists and prime movers for the most part, and we wanted to list them out for you here. And this also has that great related content in it. Anything I pick in here could potentially change what's in here, but you can, you can really learn about anything and kind of go on forever. It's pretty awesome. The next and last piece of new anatomy is the peritoneum. And this is the one I might bring the blog up for, just because it does a really great job of showing why we added this peritoneum. So I'm going to digestive view number 3. Here's our peritoneum. We had one. I believe we only had male or female. Now we have both, and we have a lot more detail. And I think the power we've added is really under this button here, which takes you to what some people call the FAST exam. This is mostly used in clinical diagnosis, for med students, maybe emergency medicine people. But what it does is it shows you the peritoneum. We have a male, female, and a male version here. I can click on any of these landmarks and learn about them here. And by itself, it's not super useful because the peritoneum is very convoluted and folded upon itself. So we have this ability to add the organs in here so you can orient yourself a little bit better. For anyone, I'm going to try and launch this blog here and see what happens. But for anyone wondering what the FAST exam is, hopefully you can see my screen here. And again, this, I don't know why it's not letting me scroll in here. Maybe I won't be able to show it. I guess this is what happened before. Very strange. Hang on one second. I'm gonna see if I can scroll. There we go. I know you're a little cut off here, but this blog is great about telling you like how do you teach with this thing. What is it for? This explains the FAST exam. Sort of explains the different layers of the mesentery. And again, these links are all in the PDF you'll get. So let me move this back out of the way and set you back up. Okay, so I think that's where we wanted to stop and maybe see if we had any questions before we go any further.
Right. So, hey, Chris, we've got one question so far from Darcy, and it is: can you correlate the cut section to CT or MRI? And this was when you were in related content, I believe.
Where you showed the cross section of the, or not the cross section, yeah, of the thorax.
Yeah, I think we're here. Yes. So again, I was trying not to push too many buttons and show too many features, but I'm happy to talk about this. Down here in the corner, we have this this little flyout here, and this corresponds. We have either an MRI or CT, and we also have a cadaver that you can compare it to. You can't put your own images in here. It's just it's whatever we have available on the side. And then these pin structures are the things that we thought were sort of most relevant in these scans or on these cadaver images. And you see if I select one of them, it'll also select here, and same thing the other direction.
Great, thank you. And we've got a question from Luis, which is, can sharing a link to a view be used as an assessment tool for the students, meaning have them send a link of their constructed view based on an assignment?
I don't see why not. If you're willing to look at it yourself and poke around in there, I think so. I mean, it wouldn't be something that we could grade for you or anything like that, but yeah, a shared link, and I'll talk a little bit about them more later. But sure, you could say build a view, and I hadn't thought of it that way, but yeah, you could.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, Chris will get to those.
Questions about share links. Yeah, we have a whole section. And Darcy, about the link to the FAST exam, in the PDF that Chris made, the links are all there. And I will be sending that along with the recording of this presentation tomorrow. So, but I can also post it really quick in the chat if you wanted to check it out after this presentation is over, which is right here.
And then Courtney, are you done? Or do you want me to move to the next question?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. So this one comes from, I hope I don't mispronounce your name, Trishayla Brown. And the question is, can the shared link generated for views be used as a hyperlink, for example, in a Word document?
Yeah, it sounds like people want to talk about these share links.
Yes.
The answer is going to be a yes, and I can get into that a little bit more later if you don't mind. Just sitting on that for a little bit.
Sure. And then there's a couple more questions, Chris, and this one is something I think you to go over. Where is the redo and undo? So the history button.
Yeah.
Relocation.
So, right. So it moved. Can you see my screen now or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It moved up here. So this is undo and redo. So if I go and hide something, this is the easiest way to get to show up. I can then undo that right here. So you don't have to bring that little fly out palette up anymore. You can just do it right on screen.
Okay. Great. So again, it's up at the top now. And then one more question. Previous assignments will be changed to the updated version automatically. The answer to this is yes. So is that correct? Like once we update, and I assume this is from Hala. I assume you're talking about assignments in Courseware that are from Atlas. So is that a yes, Chris?
I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, if you are a user of Courseware, at some point we will roll out Atlas 2021 to Courseware, and then whenever you make an assignment or view assignment, it will launch 2021.
Yes.
It's not right now. It'll be probably in a few months, but yes.
Okay, and then we'll do one more question and then go on to the next section and take more questions. This one is from Agnes. I'm using Courseware for a 2-term course. Will Atlas 2021 be available in January? So that's what Chris just said, that the Atlas 2021 is coming out in a web version first, and then it will go into Courseware. So probably not right for class starts, but soon afterward. And we'll keep you updated on that date.
Yeah, it should, we're aiming for about that time. It'll probably be a little bit after, but yeah. Okay, should we move on a little bit?
Yep.
I think a lot of the answers to your questions that you may have will be coming up. So now we want to talk about saving. So in the last version, we gave you a lot of really cool tools. We gave you the 3D draw. We gave you this structure tag, and we gave you this notepad. But you weren't always able to save them in a 3D view. So let me talk a little bit about that. First, I just want to talk about what you can save. So we have different types of content, and it might not be obvious to the user what those are. But in the past, in Atlas 2020 Web, we let you save, let me go to the main menu to talk about this here. We let you save regional views, system views, gross anatomy lab views, and microanatomy views as favorites. If you don't know what that means, you'll see that in a little bit. But you couldn't save everything. And what that was just, we were developing and using iterative development, just trying to inch our way towards our final goal. And I think we've gotten there now, where you can now save just about everything in Atlas 2021. And by that, I mean you can save cross sections. You can now save muscle actions. You can even save these detail views like this as a favorite. You couldn't do that before. And not just this detail view. You could save any of the detail views, maybe even this landmark view here. So any of these can now be saved as a favorite. If you had gone to these views in 2020, this button would have been disabled. And this is all going to come into play a little bit later on why this is so important. And let me talk a little bit, let me show you Atlas 2020 for a minute and go back to the way it used to be. So we're talking about saving views. Right now I'm in a regional view, and you were able to save it. But as soon as so let me back up here. If I want to add a structure tag, when I saved a 3D view in this version with a structure tag, it wouldn't actually save the structure tag. The app didn't know how to do that. So when you hit save, you might have thought it saved. It actually didn't. And it might show up in the thumbnail for the save view, but then when you reload it, it wouldn't be there. But now it is, and I can show you that in a minute in 2021. And then if you keep your eye on this button down here, Save View, I'm in my 3D view, I can move around, but as soon as I drew on this thing or added a notepad, you'll see, as soon as I put my notepad, that changed to Save Note. And what that indicates, or was supposed to indicate to the user, and hopefully it did, is that when I save this, it's actually going to save to my note card section. I'm not sure if I have any in here, but these were flat 2D images, and you can never get them back into 3D. So let me go back to my view. So again, as soon as I added a note, that would turn to save note, and a notepad, that would change to save note, and I couldn't save in 3D. Same thing if I made a 3D drawing, and this 3D draw tool is super awesome, and you actually are drawing, in 3D space, but when you saved it, it would save as a 2D image. And again, that's iterative development. We were trying to give you a cool tool that was super useful, but we didn't have the capacity to save it. But now we do. So I'm going to take you back to Atlas 2021, and I'm going to show you. I have a little example here. I'm going to use one of these circuitry views and mark it up. I like this guy here. And I want to show you all the tools together and how those save. So in this example, maybe I was talking about this, about pica here, this posterior inferior cerebellar artery. And maybe I want to talk about, I want to use this view to share with somebody and explain maybe what a blockage here might do. So I'm going to show you how I can add a tag in here. And then I want to add a drawing in here, and I want to position this drawing. And if any of this stuff I'm doing is confusing, one of the other webinars goes over this in detail, how to use all the tools in the app. But right now I'm just trying to add some stuff to the view so you can see it. Maybe I want to add an arrow, and then maybe I also wanted to sort of circle something here. And then I can add a notepad in here, and I can write a little note here. Blockages here. And then I can save this view. And I've already saved one or two of these when I was doing a little bit of a dry run here. So I'm just going to call it Web Pica. I don't know what I'm up to. I'll go with 10. Okay, hit save. It told me it saved. And we always have to do this nothing up my sleeve magic trick thing here, where I'm just going to load a different view so that you can see that this does in fact load back in. So here we are on the skull view. I'm going to go find the view that I just saved, which is going to show up now in my library, and I saved it. It is one of my favorites. Not one of the favorite things I've ever made, just a favorite saved view here. And here it is, the view I just made, Web Pica 10. I click it, and it should load back in just as I had it. It's all 3D. I can still mess around with it. I can change my drawing. I can add my drawing. I can move in 3D. I can even change the anatomy I have on screen. Maybe I wanted the skull in here. And here we are, same view. And with this, I want to show you ReSaving as well. This is also an awesome feature. If I have launched, so what I just did was I launched my view, right? I launched my favorite of that Web Pica 10, it was called. Right, here I am. I'm in my view. The app knows that I launched a view, and I changed it. And now when I hit save, the app is smart enough to ask me, hey, you started with Web Pica 10. Do you want to replace that view, or do you want to save a new one? If I hit replace, it'll just make the edits to that view. And if I hit save new, it's going to ask me to name it again. So this is another sort of a subtle, but another really great feature to have. You can make edits to the views you have and replace them. All right, and I mentioned this doesn't change to save note anymore, and this might get a few boos from the crowd, but we don't let you save note cards anymore, because now you can save in this 3D version, right? This live 3D view, and we don't feel that you need those 2D note cards, and you're better off here in 3D. So while that note card section, well, you can't save a note card anymore, I have a bunch of old ones here. If you have existing note cards, here's a little note here. Note cards are a legacy feature, no longer supported. And that's because we replaced them with the 3D views. But if you happen to have some note cards, we're not gonna take them away from you. You'll still have them showing up. And we've also added under this little options menu in the corner of note card section, we've added this option to export to photos. And what that'll do is take the note cards and download them to your computer for you if you want to maybe move them into a different program. So, goodbye note cards. We've replaced you with something a little bit better, and we're hoping that everyone agrees with us there. And there'll be an article on all the saving and sharing. There'll be articles that will be linked as well that we can go over. I'm sorry, that'll be in the PDF that you'll get, that you can go over after this webinar is over. The next thing I want to talk about was tours. So I don't know how many people have used tours, but a tour, we have a little description here. They're created by linking together some of your favorite views, and you need at least 2. But now you're going to see everything come together. So I'd like to make a new tour, and I'm going to pick some of these views. Trying to pick something that makes sense here. Let's see. I'm gonna pick let's pick some random ones. I got one of these rotator cuff ones. I'll throw in our exploding skull, disarticulated skull. Maybe I'll throw in this view, and I'll throw in the view we just made. I'll pick those, and then it asks me to name my tour. So I'm just gonna call it let's go with webinar 10. Save it. And that is going to show up in my tours section down at the bottom. And this is going to bring everything together. So here I am. This is one of these views that I have. I've saved it. It has a structure tag, and it has a drawing on it. It even has a notepad. I can go in here, and I can alter this, do whatever I want, change it up. But in a tour, you have these forward and back buttons. So before I get there, I can even go in here to maybe see what this does, right? Like what does this infraspinatus muscle do? I can go to one of these muscle actions, take a look at it, explore, move around, and then I can jump back using my view navigator back to my tour stop number 1. Then I can move forward, and here I am looking at this disarticulated skull, and I can learn about anything I want. I can pretty much do whatever. I'm not locked down in any capacity. I can jump out to related content. In this case, I'm just going to go to view number 3, and here we have the landmark view of our favorite bone, the sphenoid. And here we are back with our Pica Web 10 view. And from this view, I don't want to. I want to just really hit home on this related content. I'm talking about Pica here, but maybe I want to look at, I don't know, some Circle of Willis stuff. So I have this view, and I could just keep going forever and ever. I can't say enough good things about this. We put a lot of time in here, spent a lot of time weaving these views together so that you really can just explore, for an endless amount of time. Right, so that was tours. That was looking at tours that included all of our new save view types with our drawings, tags, and notepads on them. And then I want to talk about user accounts. If you had an Atlas Web account before, you may have had a user account. It's actually a little bit different than the user accounts we have now, and we'll migrate you over. It's a pretty simple process. If you are on 2020, you may have seen that I'm logged in here on my account. This is a little bit of a different account system, but we'll migrate everything over for you to your new account. You might not even realize that it happens when you sign in. And what that's going to let you do, these new visible body accounts and why they're so important, is because now that account can be shared with your mobile devices. So if you have Atlas on your iPhone or iPad or Android phone or tablet, you will also be able to sign into your user account there. And if you sign in with your same credentials, everything that's in your My Library, right, all your Tours Favorites note cards, will then sync over to your mobile device, or the other way around. So, we had developed this, before the world was sort of on lockdown, when people commuted to work and things like that. We had thought about, maybe someone's trying to prep for a lecture and they want to make a few views, and then maybe they want to use the computer at their school that's hooked up to the projector to show them. You can now do that. You can make a view on your mobile device, save it, and then when you get to school and you're signed in on your computer with the same account, all that stuff will sync over and populate. So we think that's huge. That's really a giant upgrade. And then now we're finally talking about sharing, which I think most people are interested in here. So you need a visible body user account. I didn't mention this, but they're free. You just sign up for one. The way you do it, I don't want to sign out here because I'm gonna have to sign back in, but the way you would do it is anytime you visited any of these My Library pages and you weren't signed in, there's a prompt. Or in here, if I wasn't signed in, there'd be a sign in button here as well. But you need to be signed in if you want to save anything or share anything. And that is because we want to make sure that that content, that we know that that content belongs to you. And let's talk about share links now. So I showed you a minute ago. Right? We just made Pica 10, right? Let's go find Pica 10 at the end of the line here. Yeah, maybe it's easier to look through here. All right, here's Pica 10. If I have this view open, I can hit this button, right? Like I mentioned before, hit share link. This generates a share link, associates it with your user account. And then what you want to do is just copy this link, right? When I copy it, it tells me it's been copied to my clipboard. I can hit done. And then I can take this link and I can put it wherever I want. If you're a Courseware user, you can put it in a document, make an assignment out of it. If you are not a Courseware user, or even if you are, you can email it to somebody. If you email it, it'll show up as a link, and if somebody's on a mobile device, they can actually just click that link and it'll launch the view for them. But if they're on the web, there's a little bit of a technical limitation there where you can't launch a web app really from the link directly. So a web user will go in here and paste the share link you gave them. So I'm just gonna go, erase my magic trick again. I'm gonna go back to views, and I'm gonna go here and launch my skeleton, and I'm gonna show you that I can now paste in this link, even to myself, and hopefully it'll load that thing back the way it was. So this link is fully portable, can kind of go anywhere, and if you're on the web, you're gonna want to paste that link here to launch it. And just a quick note, all of this is only, this isn't retroactive. You need to be on Atlas 2021 to do this. And then the last couple things I want to talk about, hopefully that was all clear. I can take a few more questions after this, but the last couple things I want to talk about are changes to the settings menu. Number one is if I'm signed in, we now have this profile section. And when you sign up, it's going to ask you a couple questions. We need your email so we can make an account. Then we like to have your first and last name so we can write messages to you and use your name. And then you would have selected a role, whether the roles are here, if you're a student, instructor, or professor. And this just gives us an idea of who our users are, and if there's any, if there's any new exciting stuff in the future. It actually helps us develop our features too, knowing who our users are, right? A lot of the features for 2021 are actually geared towards professors and them being able to teach and share a little bit more. So we use this to kind of figure out who our users are, to figure out where we want to take this app, what direction. You can change your password. There's a manual sync here you can do, and our privacy policy, and a sign out button. Right, so if you want to sign out of your app, you would go into profile, hit sign out. And then just two more quick things. One of them I accidentally showed you a little bit earlier when I was in my definition, and this text was gigantic. We've heard from some users, and we know that not everyone likes to put their glasses on when they're using the computer. So for any of these larger blocks of text that you really have to, get in there and get up close to, we've added an accessibility feature here for font size. If you can see this and keep your eye on it, small is what it used to be. That was our default. And then we have a medium, and then super big for those people who really need a little bit of help in the vision department. I'm just going to put this back. And speaking of vision, there's a big upgrade here that we've been seeing the whole time that I want to end on that we haven't really talked about at all. And I think the easiest way to see it is on this skull. So you can see here, and hopefully my video is nice and clear, but we have all this great new detail and texture on these models that wasn't there before. So you can see up close all this bumpiness that's there. And let me show you what it looked like before. You may not have noticed, but Atlas 2020 Web, we have this setting here. Let me explain what this setting is for, actually. We have this high quality setting. By default, it's going to be on. And what that's going to do, I'm going to turn it off so you can see, is that takes all that detail away. This thing looks a lot smoother and more plasticky now without it. And that's what Atlas 2021, that's what Atlas 2020 Web looks like right now. The only reason that I would ever recommend turning this off, because it just looks so much better with it on, is if you might happen to have some performance issues. If the app seems a little bit slow to you to move around. Right now on mine, it seems totally fine. I have 2 versions of Atlas open and I'm streaming over Zoom. But we have all this really great detail, and this matches what the mobile apps have now. So yeah, I think that's where I wanted to end it. Those are pretty much all of the new features, and hopefully I went slow enough that you understood it, and fast enough that we have time for some questions here.
Okay, great. Thanks so much, Chris. So we do have some questions. I was just trying to answer some in the chat, but let me scroll up and start with some that I did not get to. Give me just 1 second. Okay, so let's see. From Catherine, when is the 2021 Atlas released for students? Is it already available for instructors? If students buy the package in January, will it be automatically updated? So the answer is yes. If students buy Courseware, or even if they bought a Courseware subscription this fall, and their subscription is still active, they will automatically get the update to Atlas 2021 web version. So yes, they will get that. I hope that answers that question. Chris, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I think you answered it great. Right, so the students will get, they get web access and they get those mobile downloads as well. We plan on releasing 2021 all at the same time. So if you have 2021 web, you will have access to 2021 mobile as well.
Okay, great. And then a follow-up question to that was, will we be able to share links to tours with students or other instructors?
Yeah, I didn't show that, but you can. Let me just do it.
And as you're pulling that up, there was another question. If, do students need a visible body? Do they need access in order to see the view via that share link? And the answer is yes. And so our options for college courses, there are 2 options. One is to use visible body courseware. That's really the best option. You get most of You get really all of the content inside of courseware, including Atlas 2021. And as many of you know, that's how you can create assignments and quiz, and comes with a grade book and a lot of other things. So that's really the best option. The other option is an institutional site license to Atlas. And we can set this up through your university. So just if you have any questions about options and using this in the course, feel free to just put a question in the chat and we'll follow up with you right after the webinar.
Right. So as you were talking, Emily, I did it. It's the same exact process. You just open your tour and share it. And then you paste the link in here. Same thing.
Excellent. All right. So here's another question. What 2021 features have allowed for better performance speed-wise? The biggest complaint I get from students is that the app takes a long time to load the models.
All right. That is a very good and very fair question. So our app has a lot of content in it, so it does take a bit to stream. I would say one of the biggest improvements we have, let me see if it's visible here. If I'm in, I'm in a regular view and then I want to launch a muscle action, this should launch almost instantly for me here. There it is. If I'm on 2020 and I do the same thing, just back out of here. Let's see. I always like to just go to this view to reset it so we know where we are. If I go to a muscle action here, I remember this taking a while. Oh, that one was quick too. My connection must be good today. On a technical end, what we did was we made it so that all of our assets are now shared, so that when you load what we call these extra scenes, you're only loading what you need. So the first time you download the app, it should take about the same amount. Subsequent downloads after should be much, much faster once you've downloaded it once. And launching any of these extra scenes, and an extra scene would be microanatomy, cross-section, muscle action. Let me see if cross-sections will be longer here. They should be much, much faster. This one's thinking about it. Yeah, so in terms of load time, I think we've done the best we can to improve the app and make it as fast as we could. I don't think there are significant improvements, but loading the extra scenes is definitely a big improvement.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And then a question from David Curall. I have a personal 2021 version, so a B2C, that's what we call internally a B2C version on my personal account. I assume it's on a mobile device because those are the personal accounts. Can I link this account to the Courseware University account?
You can. I'm not sure if you used the same credentials to make that account. If you did, then it's very easy because yeah, I didn't mention this either, but when you log into Courseware, you have to enter your username and password, and that is associated with the Visible Body account. So what's going to happen is if you're in Courseware and you launch Atlas Web, it'll auto log you into Atlas Web and all of your content will show up there. So if you've used the same emails, yes. If you haven't, I'm pretty sure we have a way to do that. I think what you can do is change the email that you signed up with. And I'm not totally clear on this, but I think you can change the email you signed up with. It's a little bit of a long process here for me to put my password and do, and actually I don't really want to change mine. But you might be able to change it to the same one you have with Courseware as well. But yes, it should show up.
And David, we can work with you individually after this to make sure it all works correctly for teaching.
Yeah.
And then let's see. So we got a question from Catherine on price. Will the price be the same for 2021? And it just depends on what option you're going with. Courseware pricing is still the same. So Catherine, we'll follow up with you and just learn more about what you're looking to do in the classroom. Any other questions? I believe that's it. So I am going to just scan the chat and make sure I got to everybody. And feel free to ask any more questions. Oh, here's one I think I missed. In this new version, can we manually add labels to the skeleton? So that I believe was covered, but Chris, do you want to just do a quick overview of that?
I am guessing that this is not exactly the question we think it is, but I can tell you what you can do. You can't manually add them. You can add them to each individual part, but if you're talking about adding your own and writing them in or changing them, or even changing where it points to, you cannot do that in this version. We're working on something. It's not top secret or anything, but it's not really in the works yet. That will allow you to potentially do something like that in the future.
Excellent. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? About a minute left. And then, of course, I always say this on all of our webinars. Feel free to fill out any of our forms on our websites. Those go to human beings. That goes to my team. We get back to you within 24 hours. So anything that we didn't answer here, feel free to reach out to your visible body rep if you know who that is. And if you don't, you can contact me or just fill out any one of those forms and we'll get right back to you. All right. So I think that is it. Thanks so much, Chris.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for coming.
Great. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a good afternoon.
Yep, and keep an eye out on your emails. Tomorrow I'll be sending this recording as well as Chris's PDF that explains everything that he went over today. And like Emily said, if you have any further questions, just get in touch with us. Thank you so much.